Hey, everybody, welcome back from Stuck to Strong, baby. Yeah. Let's get into this one. This one is the power of your identity. Yeah, I'll say that again. The power of your identity. In case this is your first episode, my name is Big Dave, and you have to go back, watch episode number 1 of season 2. And we're really talking about one subject, our ability to change. I say we can't. Let's get into it. Today, I want to tackle a bit of what I'm talking about, meaning that you can't change. And here's what I mean. The fundamental part of you, of who you are, will always be there. That will always be a part of who you are. And that fundamental core won't change. Now, that doesn't mean you can't change your behaviors. You can't change your habits and your patterns in order to improve your life. You sure can. And you can make a difference in your life. And the output, your output of what you do and how you react can change 100% with the correct use of the proper tools. But your core, your inner core won't change at all. Not at all. Because if you stop using these tools and you see it all the time, you revert right back to all the habits that's in your core. See that difference? It's important for you to be aware of that because your identity is really who you are. And you don't want to hide from it. And you don't ever want to hide from it. So here, let's get into a little bit more. Let's really talk about it because how we label ourselves is so important. And how we talk about how we talk about our identity can go in two ways. It either can trap us and it becomes us, or it can empower us and we can do something about it. And we're going to be talking about the latter right here. All right, let's get into it. All right, let's take this head on. I'm going to use an example that is a great example of this. It goes to the nth degree, but I think you'll understand in the end. You'll understand why I used it. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Yep, once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. And a lot of you might be going, oh, that's terrible because that's a prison sentence. Well, I don't look at it that way. I don't look at it that way at all. Rather, I see it as a key to your freedom. It's that powerful. A key to your freedom. When your identity now becomes and is accepted as to who you are, and you accept that that normal part of you, who you are, is a risk to you, that's a win. You ask, why is it a win? Because now you can do something about it and you're aware. You can stop chasing fantasies of that's just how I am or whatever normal is. Either way of how you want to look at it, yes, it's true. That is how you are, and it may not be normal. But that doesn't mean you have to be that way. See, that acceptance, no different than once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic, is what allows you to start to see yourself and your identity for who you truly are. And only then can you do something about it. See, think of it this way. I mean, if you're an alcoholic and you accepted it, are you going to sit around and go, oh man, maybe one day I'll be able to drink again? No, that's not going to be in your head. You know, it's similar in saying like, one day I won't get angry so fast. One day maybe I can do that again and I won't get angry so fast. Here's how they're similar. Let's talk through that. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. You know that you can never operate normally once you drink alcohol. If you have anger issues, you know you can no longer operate normally once you are angry. Once you're set off, you're not operating normal anymore. So see, you can be into anything, whether you're anxious, whether you're have an eating problem or disorder, or maybe you stress eat or something. You can extrapolate that same thing into everything, but you see that commonality. And why is that important? It's important for this reason. You can finally put your energy into changing your behaviors so that you stay sober. and live a great life, so that you stay calm and not angry and live a great life. So that identity of who we are allows us to fix ourselves. The power in our identity. I'm an alcoholic. I have anger problems. For me personally, my most recent journaling is I have a food addiction. And I tell that to people now just outright. Yes, I have a food addiction. If I don't control myself, I like to eat way too much for every reason possible. No different. Same thing. Now, do you understand? We take this and flip it and say, now we can change our behaviors so that we can live a better life. So that person at your core doesn't come back out. So that that person with anger doesn't show up. That person who's drunk doesn't come out. That person who resorts to food constantly doesn't eat and resort to food constantly. And now we can focus all of our energy on changing the behavior that created that core person. I mean, look at it this way. Like, you can always say once a procrastinator, always a procrastinator, unless you build tools that allow you to act faster. No different than once a worrier, always a worrier, until you develop habits that help you manage that anxiety. Once a spender, always a spender, until you put financial guardrails on yourself that allow you to catch yourself. You see the identity? You might have a spending problem. That's your identity now, is I have a spending problem. That's okay. There's all kinds of things we all have. But now that you know that, you can put guardrails around it to protect yourself, and you can spend your time changing your behaviors and your habits so that that part of you doesn't harm you. See what I mean here? The trait stays, but the behavior changes. That main core trait doesn't go away. If you stop using the tools, it will come back out. But the behavior changes, so the result changes. Because remember, your actions control your results. So your behavior, your habits, your pattern are your actions. Dig into me a little bit more on my personal journey here. You probably, if you listen to season 1 of Stuck to Strong, it's all about the weight loss journey I'm on. And really, I should say different. I'm calling it the weight loss journey because that resonates with people, but I call it my journey to health. And why I call it that is I had to really attack some core parts of me, which the first and foremost was I'm a food addict. Like, if I eat food, I crave food, and I crave it to the point to where I overeat, and it doesn't make sense. And I was doing this for whatever reasons, whether I'm happy and celebrating, sad, or mediocre, or bored, or whatever, I would find a reason to eat. So that in itself, I want to kind of take you through what I did to try to give you an example. So if I just basically said, that's how I'm built that way, I could have just stopped and accepted that and moved along. No, thank you. But I could have. But since I said, I know I'm a food addict and I know I have issues, I got to go figure out what's causing these issues and why these issues exist so that I can build a tool set around me to help support me. So the first thing I did is look around all over the internet and find people that can help coach me. And I found a guy named Gary Brecka, who I follow now. And I really can't say I follow all of this stuff because there's no way, there's so much there that I just slowly introduce it. But really what my goal was to get control over my food intake and my habit that I will overeat and be triggered by food and continue to want to eat and figure all that out. And I went through all that and I attacked it first by trying to understand it. I took a blood test and find out what my genetic makeup looked like. So what inside my body was I not processing? So when I eat something, what is it not processing? And I took that, found that out, and then I found out what I should take in order to overcome my genetic makeup so that my body is fed. That is how I interpret it all. So when you look back and I go back to where I was, to that blood test, I look back and go, I always was triggered by so many different things, and it was always that way. And I lost weight. I lost 100 pounds before, and I gained even more back. All that stuff. I'd done all that stuff before. I tried really hard exercise to the point where like I hurt myself. I mean, I've done everything that I would could think of except for really attack my mindset and me. And the first part of it is my identity. I really didn't care I was fat. And that identity was everyone calls me Big Dave, they still do. And that really came down to, all right, that's just supporting me being big and whatever. I didn't care and made this and that and the other. And finally one day it became I couldn't do the things I love to do because physically I couldn't do it. I mean, I got to 425 pounds and I knew something had to change. And I remember through that journey that there were a lot of times where I said, I just got to find balance. You'd have all these people talking to you, and some of them would say, hey, you fatty, just stop doing it. Or other people was moderation. Just eat moderation. Find that balance. And, you're kind of like, no way. I mean, you don't understand what food does. Balance. You get me a peanut M&M, watch out. I'm going to flip and eat. I mean, it is things that just trigger you. I mean, they even advertise it and they said, once you pop it, you can't stop it. I mean, you can't just have one. All these things are happening and the media, the social media, the advertising, all that stuff's in your head. All of it has an impact on you, whether you realize it or not. And all these things are going on and they're just pushing and pushing and pushing. And you just basically accept it where you're at and you get stuck in your habits. I did. I was stuck in my own habits. These are the habits. This is what I did. This is how I did it. Didn't think about any other reason other than that's what I did. And when you're in a habit, that's just what you do. And change is really difficult. I mean, for some people, it's really difficult. For most people, it's difficult. And change is something that doesn't come just naturally. So when this habits and we're all formed and this is our new habit, this is our old habit or current habit, creating a new habit is not so easy. So that's what made me go, all right, there's got to be more to it than just me not having control over my food. This is what I was telling myself. I don't know if that was real or not real. Once I took the genetic test, I went and started taking methylated vitamins. And the methylated vitamins, along with Perfect Amino, I took for 90 days. And after that 90 days, I started to now try to change my habits of eating and consuming. And I went on a keto diet. And I can tell you, even today, I am not craving foods. I don't eat sugar. I've had a cookie. It didn't trigger me. I don't really eat anything other than whole foods except for when I'm traveling. Don't get me wrong. I still, when I travel and I go to Hardee's, I'm going to get that biscuit breakfast sandwich because that biscuit breakfast sandwich at Hardee's is really good. But that's the exception, not the rule. That's not my habit. That's the exception. And once I started doing that, it really gave me control. Now, here's what I don't know. Was it that, or was it I started habit stacking? And what I mean by that is I started doing and waking up and making myself doing breath work. I started making myself do walking. I started making myself do hydrogen water. I started stacking these habits that I do right away. And I believe that also had a big impact because when I was habit stacking, what's happened was that makes my mind focus as I'm changing. I'm on this health journey. And when your mind's on this health journey, you're thinking about what you have to do in order to stay on the health journey. You're not saying, oh, I'm changing my habits. No, you're saying I'm on this journey and this is what I'm doing and this is how I'm doing it. And your mind's focused on that so that other stuff isn't coming in. So whether it was truly the methylated vitamins or it was the habit stacking that is helping my mind, I honestly can't tell you, but they both had an impact. And I really think that the methylated vitamins really did because I think I was finally feeding my body right. And once I'm feeding my body right, I wasn't craving so much. And I really believe that's what happened. on top of that, I did work on my mind very heavy, and there's a lot of areas in leadership I teach. So I do a lot of work with mind and having and retraining your mind and your mindset so that you can catch yourself and really become a more depending an improved version of yourself based upon what you want from yourself. So there's a lot of that I really understood, but always failed with food. Never ever came in with food until now. And I'm not going to say I've overcome it yet because I'd like to go 10 years and say that I've held and did it before I used those words, but I'm this far along and I'm happy about that. I am not running out to go get different foods. I'm not ordering a pizza from anywhere unless I'm, traveling with someone or doing something. Not. I'm not ordering Chinese. I'm not. I'm not getting any sugar. I'm not doing any of that. But really, where it all came from is I attacked my behaviors and I changed them. So, that long story short is when you first know that what your identity is and who you are at your core, and you accept that, then you can accept that I can now attack my behavior. So I have tools in my arsenal that won't allow that to impact me in a negative way. So, like for instance, I don't miss when I take those vitamins. I don't miss my habit stacking. I have a strict policy of trying to stick to whole foods the best I can. That doesn't mean that it's always there because if I can't find a darn pasture-raised egg, I'm not going to buy it. I'm going to buy an egg, but if I can, I will. For you or some of you might have the same idea, or for some of you might say, I'm not paying that much for a pasture-raised egg. I'm just going to buy that one. That's okay too. You do the best you can with what you got. And what I do is try to stick with a whole foods diet the best I can. And I also work out and I also walk every morning, all these habit stacking. So there's a whole list of things I do. It's quite intensive of what I change, and it's only going to grow because I'm introducing new things. And I just told myself that next Monday, not this coming Monday, but the Monday next, is I have to finally start doing cold showers and plunges. I'm scared of those. I don't like the cold water, and the main piece of what I want you to think about in this is it's the difference between managing your identity and trying to erase it. You see that difference? I accepted who I am, and now I'm managing my identity to be who I want to be. I'm not trying to erase who I am because I can't. It won't last. But what I can is manage it and manage it with tools. And there's communities out there that I have. There's you don't need that. If you have your own community, have some help. It's always nice to have help and mentors on that. But I think you understand what I'm saying. Is manage your identity. Don't try to erase it. The key to all of this in the wrap up is own who you are. Don't run from it. Some people get stuck in a way of saying, that's not me. That's not who I am. And then they ask their friends and they're like, yeah, that's kind of how you are. And then all of a sudden it's like they're like heartbroken or whatever because they don't want to be that person. When you're avoiding yourself for who you are, that's a terrible place to be in life. I mean, it just is. It is so much healthier to accept who you are and manage it because you can. In your core, you do that. And the other thing it does, which is really powerful, is since you're this way, when you do messed up, you apologize for what you did. Huh. Isn't that just a new revolutionary idea? Because now you're aware that this is who you are, and you may not like it, but that is who you are. So you can do that, so you apologize for it. And let me tell you, that only makes friendships grow. That's what it does. So the acceptance of oneself is so vital because it gives you power, not shame. Shame only comes because you're in denial that all of a sudden you have a habit that might be not good for you. I just told you one of mine, and there's plenty. We all got them. Everybody's got something going on. I mean, you're not going to sit there and go, you're unique Cinderella. That's not going to happen. So don't run from it, because the first step is that acceptance of your identity at your core. Now, that doesn't mean who you are outgoing, because you can manage that. That's what we're talking about here. And how do you manage that? You manage that by addressing your behaviors. And this is the best advice I can give you on that. Your internal voice and the words you say, I would tell you they hold equal power at best. Your internal voice likely holds more power. So if you say to yourself and start getting angry at something, you can immediately take that inside voice and go, I don't need to be angry. There's no reason for me to be angry at this. I'm not going to be angry. Inside your head without saying another word. And you're going to go, well, that's not going to do anything. Yeah, it will. It will. So what you have to do is flip those thoughts around. Those thoughts control your actions. Your actions control your behaviors, your habits. You got to fix those thoughts. And sometimes you're going through the motion just out of habit without a thought. And you got to catch yourself on those too. So those are the secrets to this, is catch yourself and become aware. And that's what this is all about. My final words, just another way of saying the same stuff I said. You can't change who you are, but you can change what you do. All right. That is a wrap from Stuck to Strong. On to the next episode. I hope you join me. It's going to be exciting. Remember, own who you are. Be proud of who you are. No shame. Own it. Live it. Be it. And then we manage it to improve it and to actually present ourselves in the way that makes us happy. Thanks for listening, and I'll chat with you all later.